these are the overall aims of what you should strive for when you create a wildlife backyard. So the first one is extending habitat. So what I mean by that is, this is for people who have a backyard which is adjacent to bushland. If you make a wildlife backyard, a wildlife habitat backyard, you're effectively expanding the boundaries of that bush reserve, because that links up, and yeah, then you expand the boundaries. And that's important for a lot of animals which have large home range sizes. If you can just expand it a bit more, it gives them a bit more space to work with. And yeah, it can go a long way to conserving those particular species. The next one is creating wildlife corridors. And this point's more targeted towards people who have who have a friendly relationship with their neighbours and maybe the block. If you can get everyone, all your neighbours and the block included, to start creating wildlife habitat, and that kind of links up one reserve to the other reserve, then you've made an effective wildlife corridor which enables animals to pass through there. And this is very important from the aspect of, there's one really important ramification for this, which is that allows animals to keep their genetic integrity. So what I mean by that is when you have a bush reserve which becomes too isolated from any other bush reserves and it's just kind of caught in a sea of urbanisation, then it becomes so isolated that it doesn't get like animals from the same population moving in to give them a bit more genetic variability. So what ends up happening is a lot of these animal species, which you would think that they would survive, actually randomly go locally extinct from this bush reserve just because they don't have access to more genetic stock that comes from a greater geographic range. So yeah, making wildlife corridors is hugely important to link up all the bush reserves so that the animals can access different populations and keep that genetic integrity going. The last aim is a stopover oasis. So this is for anyone who is pretty much just completely surrounded by urbanisation and there's not much bush around. They're just kind of there and you've made your habitat backyard but there's no linkage. But these are very important as well, because from an animal's perspective, and this only applies to more dispersive animals such as birds and bats, some frogs as well. But so these animals, from their perspective, when they see one of these stopover oases, so that they pretty much view it as say if we were walking through the desert and we saw an oasis which had food, shelter and water, that's pretty much how they view it. Because all this urban area is just completely inhospitable. But then if you've got a habitat backyard in the middle of this, that's a perfect stopover oasis for it. And you can attract a lot of different animals just with that. Like yellow-tailed black cockatoos, they travel very far. If you've got some nice food resources for them, they're very well stocked in your backyard.